Let's check out the best stadiums in each state of Australia and at the end decide who wins. So I would say I've actually looked at quite a few Australian stadiums with my VR goggles on, and there are so many impressive stadiums, whether it's the actual building quality or if it's the view like down in Tasmania. You know, there are some brilliant stadiums. I'm wondering if I'm going to find any new ones in this.
That being said, here is the best stadium in every Australian state, and the two biggest territories to bolster the numbers. Australian Capital Territory, the District of Columbia of Australia. More kangaroos though. It's a toss-up between oval and rectangular, but I'm going oval on this one, Monica Oval to be specific.
I haven't seen that one. This is one I've not looked at. I don't think. I assume no major team plays here though.
The odd thing about this place is that it doesn't actually have any professional team that plays here permanently, yet it's used quite frequently by both AFL and cricket teams from elsewhere. It's undergone some improvements recently, including these fancy press boxes, but the best feature remains the classic white picket fence that surrounds the field.
The white picket fence is the sort of thing that reminds me of English cricket grounds, and quite often this is the sort of size. I know, like the Rose Bowl. I don't know if it's called the Rose Bowl. It's called the Aegis Bowl or something like that now in Southampton near me. That's bigger than this. But as I said, I think the white picket fence is what sort of I know about cricket,
which should be mandatory at all cricket grounds. New South Wales. It's around 80 times larger than Old South Wales. Less Welsh people though. It's a state that's home to 10 of the 16 National Rugby League teams, and Sydney itself has a ton of suburban rugby league stadiums, but I'm gonna have to go for a cricket stadium once more. Although it does host NRL as well, to be fair.
So my point, I've looked at Sydney Cricket Ground, and I think what I like about the Sydney Cricket Ground, and I'm sure a lot of people will agree and understand what I'm saying, is they've kept the old, is it the ladies stand, the women's stand? I can't remember what they call it now. But they've kept in that corner, they've kept the old style. And what they've done is they've built the new around it. I find it odd that they're different levels. So for example, this stand seems just odd because that one is lower. I think it's a little bit strange, but it is clearly an absolutely beautiful stadium. And just picturing all the Sydney Swans fans, and probably even the other team fans, running on for Buddy's 1000th.
And AFL. Australian stadiums are busy. It's one of the oldest test cricket grounds in the world, having opened in the mid-19th century. And despite being a modern stadium overall, it has still kept some relics of the past in use. The Ladies' Pavilion and Members' Pavilion in particular, which are a charming addition to the stadium. Well,
I think it just adds that little bit of character, doesn't it? It hasn't thought, right, no, we're completely building a new stadium, we're going to demolish that. No, they've kept that history, because what is a stadium without its history and its character? You know, I know as a Southampton fan in football that we've gone from the Dell. Now, the Dell wasn't a very nice stadium, but it had character. It had one stand. It wasn't. It went down in a triangle, and the far end was tiny, but it had character. And then we moved over to St Mary's Stadium, which was a brand new stadium, but it is lifeless. It is absolutely lifeless because it's got no character. It's got no history behind it.
Well, actually, the rest of the stadium is an addition to them. Northern Territory. When most people think of the stereotypical Australian, they're actually thinking of someone from here. TO Stadium, or TIO Stadium, is a decent little venue considering Darwin's small size and isolation. Speaking of Darwin, it's actually been almost completely destroyed twice. Turns out, if you name your city after someone who debunks creationism, it really pisses off God. Anyway, it's an Australian rules football stadium primarily, hosting the occasional AFL game.
So I've looked at the TO Stadium, and I think it does the job. It does the job of what it's required to do. It's not huge. It's not too big. It's not too small. Now, I pointed this out when I did the VR video of this. Actually, what I love about this is the actual location that it's in is a sporting... There's so many different sporting venues in this location. It is incredible. Honestly, there's so many different pitches and courts and everything. And if you actually go back and look at the VR video, they're all in a VR stadium tour playlist. Check out this and you will see so many sports in one location, and I love that because it's about getting people playing all in one area. It's brilliant.
It did used to have a permanent semi-professional tenant, but they ceased to exist. It just consists of this one grandstand on the western side of the ground, as well as a large grass berm. Queensland. Without Queenslanders, bananas would be straight.
The Gabba.
The banana bending industry makes up 16% of the state's economy. I think it's about time we saw a rectangular stadium. Sorry, Gabba, you're a bit boring. And sorry.
See, I don't think the Gabba is boring. In the simple fact that I love the design of the roof. It's almost like the tarpaulin that's going over and allowing the airflow. But let's see what he's got instead.
Boring. And sorry, Cusack, you're just playing weird. And sorry, okay, this could run and run. I am of course going for Suncorp Stadium, home of the Broncos and Queensland winners state of...
The Suncorp, I've looked at this in VR as well. The Suncorp is a really, really awesome stadium. It looks that the stands are quite steep, giving a brilliant view looking down on players. The airflow, the design of it, you can see that there's a flat roof, but the airflow that goes in between there is clearly a great idea in a hot area of Australia. And it's just very square, very blocky, but it's designed really well.
Of origin time. For now, it's the country's largest rectangular stadium, and some might say the best. The structure itself isn't on stilts, so it's not 100% Queenslander, but the amount of maroon throughout the stadium certainly makes up for that. I quite like the video boards directly behind the post at each end as well.
Where's South?
South Australia.
Adelaide Oval.
The only state that never received British convicts. And it's also the wine capital of Australia. I feel like the fact that they weren't making it out of a toilet gave them the competitive edge. Anyway, Norwood Oval is one of the more interesting State League footy grounds. There's an okay A-League ground, but the Adelaide Oval is probably my favourite stadium in Australia. And I'm not an Adelaidean before you ask. It combines modern architecture with a traditional cricket ground aesthetic, including a brick facade, old-fashioned manual scoreboard, a grass hill with fig trees, and some seats even get a cathedral backdrop, which isn't exactly important, but it's very fitting considering that Adelaide is known as the city of churches.
Yeah, this is adding to my point. Sometimes the view is incredible as well, and imagine sitting in the largest stand there and looking out and seeing what you see. But yeah, what they did here is, once again, like Sydney, they didn't get rid of the history. They kept the history in one side, and they built these lovely... I love the oval type shapes as well of the roof. I think it's a gorgeous stadium.
Tasmania. This is by far the
Blundstone.
coolest state. For starters, it's an island. It also has the only name that isn't incredibly dull, and apparently it has the cleanest air on Earth. There you go, Tasmanians. You get made fun of a lot for your hillbilly ways, so there's some positivity for you. The best stadium would have to be Blundstone Arena. This beachside cricket ground is the home of Tasmanian cricket, but it also regularly hosts AFL, as does pretty much every cricket stadium in the country. It has an odd assortment of stands, including the modern Ricky Ponting stand, and they haven't even tried to match the colours, but overall I think it looks pretty good.
It is an odd stadium, but for this one, as I said, what I think is so amazing about this is the incredible views. It has to be the incredible views. Anywhere you're sitting in this stadium, you will get amazing views, whether it's of the sea, whether it's of the mountains behind. Oh my God, it's the views in this stadium for sure.
And I always like to see a grass berm and a cricket ground. Victoria. Most people know it's home to Ned Kelly, the iconic bushranger, but even more iconic is Victoria's fine dining scene. Both the dim sim and...
I don't understand why they call it dim sim. I know someone's going to tell me, but it's dim sum. But apparently dim sum is just the overall thing. Dim sim is specific to them. I don't know. Anyway.
The Chico roll hail from here. And yet Italy and France get all the accolades. Usually I don't bow down to peer pressure and just choose the stadium that would appease the most people. But as a Victorian, you can actually face several years in prison for discrediting the MCG. So I can't even consider Amy Park or Marvel Stadium. The Melbourne Cricket Ground is almost as old as the city of Melbourne itself.
That's the thing. Look, the Marvel Stadium, also incredible. The Victoria has incredible stadiums, right? But the MCG is the MCG. Also, our tour around the MCG is booked. Just so you know, I am looking forward to that. Hopefully, I'll get there in the grand final. Who knows? But it's huge. It's well designed by the looks of it. Yes, you can be up in the rafters, but you've got the steepness of the higher tiers that can see down. It's the MCG. What more can you say?
It's the home of footy, the home of the Boxing Day Test cricket's biggest annual event. It's hosted the Olympics and Commonwealth Games. It's the biggest stadium in the Southern Hemisphere, perhaps too big. And while it might not be the prettiest stadium going round, this multi-tiered behemoth is by no means ugly.
The Optus.
Western Australia.
If it's not the Optus, I'm shocked. But the Optus is beautiful. The Optus is an absolutely gorgeous stadium. And before I even finish this video, the Optus wins. Sorry.
It's the biggest state, or province, or prefecture, or oblast in the world. And oddly enough, the population is almost exactly the same as the area in square kilometres, about 2.6 million. The stadium situation is pretty similar to...
I like that stand. I don't even know what this stadium is, but I like that stand. That is a really nice shape.
South Australia. A decent A-League stadium, several suburban footy grounds, and the obvious choice. But they do also have the Wacker, an iconic cricket ground. However, the obvious choice is the obvious choice.
Has to be.
At over $1.5 billion Australian dollars, it was the most costly stadium construction in the country's history.
So I did a VR tour of this, and before last year's AFL Grand Final, I watched the drone footage and the drone zooming in and around it. Oh my God, this is the most beautiful stadium I've ever seen. And it's a shame I'm not going to be able to visit it, but I just love it. I love the design on the outside. I love the airflow going in. It's just a nice modern stadium that, I say about stadiums, newer stadiums that don't have the character, but I think this creates its own character. It's new with character, and it's fresh, and it's beautiful. That's the best word.
I love that bronze exterior, and the interior is a smaller, more modern MCG really. In some areas there are 5 tiers of seating, and rather than the huge light towers of the MCG,
and the lights,
all the lights are roof mounted, which is actually pretty rare in stadiums used for cricket. A fantastic venue to end with. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed...
Okay, so as I said, what state has the best stadium? In my opinion, Western Australia, because the Optus is beautiful. It is gorgeous. I know Victoria have amazing stadiums. I know Queensland has brilliant stadiums, but the Optus is just incredible. I really love it. Now, please do tell me, which is your favourite? Is it because of the character of the stadium? Is it because of the size? Is it because of the history behind it? But what is your favourite stadium? Please do let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. If you want to support my channel, there is merchandise down below. And also you can buy me a coffee. It's a little bit like Patreon, but the creators get a bigger cut of it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.